So in the United Kingdom we're in the middle of a heat wave, and I think this article that we're about to cover is quite appropriate. But before we do that, I want to quickly announce, Thursday, for the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends show political stream that I normally do, we have a topic. It's about the released information about the wiretapping. Should be quite interesting to listen to, talk about, and I'm going to be doing this with Trups LP. He's a patron of mine, but also a YouTube content creator. His channel link will be below. Please consider subscribing. So let's just dive right into this article because I think it's quite amusing. Is cold weather racist? The correct answer is no. Mother Nature doesn't have a bias. There are some biological elements people can certainly argue about when it comes to race and tolerance towards hot and cold. Humid climates, I don't know many that function well in it. It's why also you don't see many people in predominantly cold countries, but you will find quite a lot of them in states that are quite cold. I guess people just go where the work is, or wherever they bloody well want. This morning after walking my dog, I went back outside, popped open the trunk of my car and removed some workout items that were still in there from my trip to LA Fitness Wednesday evening. A sleeveless hoodie, a white t-shirt, a pair of white socks and some grey shorts. Couldn't afford white shorts, huh? Couldn't get a matching outfit? Doesn't matter. I usually don't like to leave sweaty clothes in my trunk that long, but I'd forgotten they were still in there and was reminded when trying to remember this morning where that hoodie was. I wasn't, however, prepared for the clothes to have changed form. You see, it was 2 degrees in Pittsburgh yesterday morning and managed to climb up to 12 degrees today. It was so cold that my clothes were frozen. The hoodie, which had been balled up in a gym bag, was now basically a head of lettuce. The white t-shirt was a fucking ironing board. My socks were flaccid popsicles. I love this anecdote. As I hurried back into the house, clutching my frozen clothing and cursing at the cold nipping at my nipples, one thought came to mind. This is some racist ass shit. How is it? Are white people preventing you from remembering you left dirty sweaty clothing in the boot of your car? Is Mother Nature white? White, even? Are black people being persecuted because they couldn't remember? Which is basically the same thing but rehashed a different way to sound like a different point? Yes, you read that correctly. Racist. You have a very odd definition for racism. Cold weather is racist. Cold weather racially profiles, segregates, gentrifies, colonizes and appropriates, and is responsible for at least 90% of the unseasoned meats brought to company potlucks this month. It also possesses a changing agent that somehow makes black people even blacker. Well, they're hardly going to get a tan in the snow, are they? Okay. Cold weather racially profiles. Everyone suffers in the cold. It just so happens some people are more tolerant of it than others. They, for the most part, are not black people. Because you have evolved, for the most part, in Africa, where your bodies are more comfortable in the heat, as opposed to white people who can barely tolerate the current heat in the United Kingdom, which I believe crept up to 101 Fahrenheit. Degrees Fahrenheit? Yeah. I decided to use the American version because I couldn't be bothered to convert it. Anyway, segregates. I think people were doing that long before the cold weather. Some going so far as to do it on college campuses without any need to. They just do it cause. Gentrifies. Well, we have to make those dumps you call homes look nicer somehow, and snow, even after it's been pissed all over, still makes those streets look good. Now, if only we could do that to San Francisco, where there are actual bags of turds in the street. Colonizers. I have no idea how that works. Appropriates. Oh dear, you know what, we're carrying on. The mere hint of a chill seeping and sneaking into my bones transforms me into an awkward melange of every blaxploitation protagonist and Richard Pryor. I've called the wind a jive turkey, a splash of slush in my boots, a goddamn good-for-nothing cracker, a lone snowflake, somehow breaking from formation and finding its way past my parka, beneath my hoodie and down my neck, a sucker-ass nigger. I feel like I'm reading a review on Amazon. How exactly is cold weather racist, you ask? Well, this is the question now that has been nagging at me for however many minutes I've been talking. Where is my proof? I soon conjured out of your bottom. Well, first, fuck you for asking me to provide proof of racism, but since we're here, The proof is that cold weather hates black people, even though black people have been so nice and kind to cold weather that we don't bother it where it lives. But you live where cold weather resides. So, who's the intruder here? If you saw a map of the planet and you wanted to immediately know where on earth to find the niggers, all you'd have to do is check each region's average temperature and boom, your nigger finding expedition is over. I assume in the cities. Aside from your bougie-ass Kappa cousins taking ski trips and sleigh riding on ascots, we collectively let cold weather rock. If cold weather is walking down our side of the street, we cross the street. We're even nice enough to stay in the house for months while cold weather's out getting its groove on. Yet despite all of these concessions that we've made, cold weather still hates us. And the word for that type of undeserved hate of black people is racism. So yes, cold weather is racist. I assume by that extension, hot weather is racist because white people melt, and especially when it's humid. White people at that point stop functioning. I've seen this with neighbours who hide indoors and leave all the doors and windows open, hoping that a cold breeze will come through and at least dry their nuts off, because apparently none of them can seem to function if there is a bit of sweat on their testicles. And while it is good that you are being proactive in avoiding the cold weather, unfortunately for you, you are in the wrong state to avoid it entirely and be able to operate properly, happily. You might find a state slightly further south to be more suitable than Pennsylvania. Might I recommend New Mexico? Now I know a lot of you might now be thinking, Omegon, this must be a Poe. Well, I have news for you. Damon Young, the writer, also wrote an article today. Amazon should replace literally every white man to save local taxpayers money. I've got a better idea. How about Amazon just pay tax? Because they don't seem to want to do that, to the point where they will threaten their governments, where they are actually operating, that they will move their warehouses elsewhere unless they get concessions, and governments typically bend over for it, which I don't think they should. I think at that point, you should call their bluff and simply offer to help them move. Now he's also written a running list of things straight men can't and shouldn't do because it'll make us gay. I think everyone's heard about that. And also, 15 usually white pickup basketball players we need to start calling the cops on too. Honestly, this guy's not a Poe, but he is very funny. It's funny how you see someone conjuring up problems that aren't really problems, and they are certainly not problems that can be dealt with by society. Because for racism to be an actual thing, it has to be considered either systemic of society or a problem created by someone of another race. Well, the weather isn't that. And I do remember you indicating gentrification as a problem, so might I instead recommend you take your, what I can only assume to be, shitty neighbourhood, and just relocate it to somewhere hotter. Perhaps like the comments said below, Southern California is quite warm. Why not go there? I'm sure you'll be so happy paying stupid taxes for a state that is heavily dependent on other states to exist. Yes, productive, and totally not a waste of time. Now I know what you, Damon, would say. You would say, why should I have to do that? Why can't the snow do one? And then I have to show you how the world works, which is obviously racist. Oh dear, oh dear. I might do separate videos on the Amazon should replace literally every white man to save local taxpayers money, because I think that would be funny. And also it's nice to see someone who is trying to be so edgy by being so obviously racist themselves, and I would assume to be unironically so. Anyway, I hope everyone has a lovely Tuesday, if you've got the heat wave like I have. Hide indoors. And thank you all for listening.
Oh, goddowns.
In your arse.
Imagine my shock